everyone, welcome back to the Amber Serpent. My name is Gulveg. It is once again Rune Reading Wednesday. Today is November 15th. So we are just going to go right into it. So we're going to take a look and see once again what the runes have to say for us for the following week, for the upcoming week. So for those of you who are new to Rune Reading Wednesday, the way that it works is we're going to pull 3 runes. You will get a chance to decide if all 3 of them equally draw you, if there is perhaps some that 1 or 2 that draw you more than the third one. And then by doing that, you can prioritize as to which energy is going to be most important for whatever challenges or situations or decisions that you need to make over the next week. So, as always, we always set the intention that the message that flows through the runes is going to be one that supports the highest good of all who tune into this Rune Reading Wednesday. So, you blow the intention into the runes. Rune number 1. Rune 2. And Rune 3. All right, so I'm going to give you a closer look at these. This is rune number 1. With a stone for it. Some folks make their decision based in part on what the stones look like. They're all the same type. They're all bloodstone. We have rune 2 and rune number 3. All right, so shall we unveil them? Take a moment to decide if 1 or 2 of them draw you more than, or if all 3 of them do. So rune number 1, we have Tears rune, Tiwaz. Rune 2, we have Gebo. And rune 3, we have Sowilo. So this is rune number 1. Rune 2, looks like an X. And rune number 3. So rune number 2 and 3 are very interesting because they have been coming up lately for us in some of the other rune readings as well. So if we take a look at these here, this next week is going to be about creating harmony or justice, which is what Tears rune is all about. And then we have Gebo, which is the rune of exchange. Equal partnerships, energy exchange, things of that nature, gift giving. And then we have Sowilo, which Sowilo is like success. It's kind of similar in energy to like the sun rune in the or the sun card in the tarot. It has to do, it's typically like it's all the good stuff. It's success, it's warmth, it's nurturing, it's abundance, it's all that good stuff. So, I mean, this looks like a really fortunate rune casting for the next week. So we have the way that we are going to have success and equal partnership and justice and harmony is through this equal exchange in relationships here. So the equal give and take. So we're being asked here, if we take a look at all of these 3 together, is to take a look at our relationships, not just like with other people, but our relationships with money, our relationships with ourselves, our relationship with our job, our relationship with our time, and is there kind of an equal give and take? Or are we kind of like, you know, pouring from the empty cup, so to speak? Are we giving too much? Or are there certain situations in which perhaps we're taking too much, hoarding, having kind of a mentality of lack, having to, feeling like that we need to take more than our fair share for whatever reason? So, and that's very interesting because we have a new moon coming up here really soon. And this new moon is all, its energy is very much about taking stock as to our relationships and being aware that in the next week people are going to be a little bit more sensitive than normal, and maybe even acting a little bit more erratically. So that opens up some opportunities for us to assess equal exchange in our lives, in our daily dealings with folks, and with different types of energy and resources in our daily lives. So if we can take stock appropriately and create that equal exchange that every single one of us is is entitled to. We all have a need to have that give and that receive energy be balanced. Then that's what's really going to create the harmony and the justice in our life. The other part of Tears Rune, however, is that there may be a temporary need over the next week to make perhaps a small self-sacrifice in lieu of creating that justice and harmony. It may be a temporary sacrifice, perhaps in time or resources, taking care of a loved one, or meeting or helping somebody out by giving selflessly of ourselves, that type of thing, in order to for the greater good. And that is part of what Tyr's rune sometimes signifies when it comes up. Tyr was a god of justice. He was associated with the pole star, so very stable, very like kind of like clockwork. But then also too, his myth has a lot to do with self-sacrifice as well, which is all about defeating Fenrir, which was this wolf that got out of hand and became bigger and bigger and started wreaking havoc for both the gods as well as for mankind. And in order to detain this wolf, Tyr not only had to give up his right hand, but he also had to lie to the Fenrir the wolf, which he had a very major role in raising the wolf as a pup. And in this particular tradition, to lie was like a really big deal. Your word was your bond. So he had to sacrifice quite a bit in order for the greater good, so that this wolf didn't devour the entire world and wreak havoc also for the gods as well. So keeping in mind that there's this equal exchange, and yet at the same time there also may be some opportunities or some situations in which we may be actually asked to make a self-sacrifice for the greater good. Keeping in mind too the bigger picture, the greater good is the really important piece here, because oftentimes, especially for folks who give a lot, that self-sacrifice may be just kind of a way of being, that we're always giving, always saying yes, no boundaries, don't needing to please, that type of deal. That's not necessarily the self-sacrifice that we're talking about, because that's a self-sacrifice that is now becoming a pattern that's no longer supporting the greater good. However, there are situations in which we, for a short period of time, do have to make those kind of those kind of sacrifices in order to be able to create harmony in the long term. So just know that that is a potential. We may be asked, maybe one of the sacrifices could even be with money, having to put aside and save something versus buying something that we really wanted this week. It could be something of that nature. And if we keep that in mind and have a balanced relationship with that self-sacrificing, then it's actually going to lead us to success. It's going to lead us, it's going to bring us all the good stuff. And if this is one of the ones that you primarily were drawn to, then chances are that you are kind of at the end of that cycle where you perhaps have already made some self sacrifices, have already made some negotiations with either a person or resources, perhaps with yourself, and you've already have taken stock of how that equal exchange is going to end up looking for you in the long run, and therefore you're at a place where you might be able to be seeing reaping some rewards of those good decisions and taking the long view, so to speak. So that is Rune Reading Wednesday for November 15th. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear your comments, questions below, and feel free to take a look at our Facebook page where we have additional information on events and ongoings and all the other resources that the Amber Serpent has to offer. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks. Bye-bye.